Good morning, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me okay, and welcome to our LawY webinar this morning. So I'm going to be running through, can I just check? Is anyone able just to send a message just to say they can hear and see everything okay? Perfect, thank you so much. I'll try and enable chat. So yeah, good morning everyone. So welcome along to our webinar. Today I'm going to be running through the LawY integration in Caseload, our case management system. So what I'll just do is I'll share my screen. We'll run through, it's going to be a very practical webinar this morning. So a very practical guide of prompts and research options and things that I think that you could be thinking about when using AI in your practice. AI still kind of new and everyone's kind of finding their feet and saying, is it something that you can trust and what are the benefits, etc. So we will run through that this morning and just go through some of the examples that I've got. I've generated a prompt handbook, which I think we can run through. So let me just share my screen just so we can go through some of this morning. Here we go. So what I've got up on screen is caseload. So for anyone new to that's not a caseload user, appreciate this has been out on Legal Mark Scotland, and we might have some people that aren't caseload customers at the moment. Caseload is our case management and accounts application. So within caseload, what we've built is a LawY integration. LawY is a AI provider. The source behind LawY is OpenAI, but LawY is trained on jurisdiction-specific Scottish law. So in terms of the legal research we look at today and the results that we get from that, that is all generated based on Scottish legal research. There is other jurisdictions in there which I will show you if that's of interest or something that you need to look at. But we will focus very much around the Scottish aspect of it. The LawY integration is available on the main toolbar. So you see in here you've got your AI legal assistant. That provides a trusted and verified legal AI option for research and any questions that you have. You can run that without actually having a matter. So we'll look at that later on just to see what that looks like, or you can run it from within the matter itself. If we open up conveyancing sale matter, for example, what you'll see is your AI legal assistant in here. So just before we kind of start to ask it questions and go into a little bit more detail, I'll just go through a few different things that we can start to think about. So one of the things in the bottom here is on the matter itself, before you hit that button, before you say, right, I'm going to use my AI legal assistant, it's the better output you get from the resulting questions that you ask is based around what area of law you've said that you want to ask the questions of. So this I had selected a say one for conveyancing, and we will touch on that in the kind of questions that I'm about to ask. But what you can see is that there's a whole raft of law specific work types that are in there. So you've got some administrative, you've got business and corporate. All of these expand into different areas. So you can be hopefully quite specific with with the area of law that you want to ask the question around. So that goes into quite a lot of detail. And what you'll see basically there is a lot of different options. So if you're in dispute, there's a lot of dispute options, criminal as well. There's all the different types of court options in there as well. So try and be quite specific with the area of law that you want to ask the question in, and that will give you a better output from the answers that it's going to provide. Bef- Before we do this, what I've kind of wanted to chat about was around the practical aspects of that and how better to get use out of using an AI legal assistant. It's important that you look at it from a few different areas. Like across the firm, there'll be people have different experiences. So you could have some junior members of a team doing like high volume repetitive tasks. So things that would normally take time manually, they can do that. For more senior lawyers, you're looking at maybe something that's a bit more accurate. So they've already done quite a lot of research themselves. They maybe just want to put it into the AI legal assistant and generate an output from there. So I would say if you're just getting started with AI or not sure where to start, those are two things to think about. So things like low risk, high volume tasks. It can help with drafting emails. It can help with drafting client letters, case law summaries, and just your standard legal research as well. So I would say we can cover some of that examples just to see it is a research tool and the research is a massive part of it, but you can actually use it a bit like you've maybe used some AI tools personally. You can use it to have even just questions, even just I've wrote this email. Can you just check that it makes sense? Is it professional? Can I change the tone of it, etc.? And we'll look at some of that as we move forward. So what I'm going to do because we're in a sale conveyancing matter, what I've been working on is this legal prompt handbook. So I'm not there's 8 different sections to this, and I'm not going to cover all 8 in this because that would be boring, and I don't want to kind of I want you to hopefully enjoy some of what we're going to look at here. So the what we'll do is we'll look at the first 2. So we'll take a deep dive into a Scottish title, and then we'll do similar with I've just pulled together an example home report just to see what that can look like. Now, the prompt, I, I can't underestimate how valuable the prompt is when you're going to be asking the AI assistant a question. And the more detailed you can give it, I think AI gets a bit of a bad rep sometimes for just being very agreeable, very positive, not challenging. And a lot of that comes down to the prompt and how you ask the question as well. So what I'm basically saying here is I'm a property law assistant specialising in conveyancing. Review the title sheet and produce a specific plain English report. Use Scottish terminology, etc. So LawY knows that anyway because it is on a Scottish jurisdiction. So what we'll do is we'll go and get some title summary and title data. We'll put that in to the AI legal assistant and we'll give it some very specific guides. And I think one thing that firms that have been using LawWise, they've learned that the more specific you can be with what you're after, the better the output result. So in terms of deliverables from this prompt, I'm going to say give me a 1 paragraph summary. So right at the start of the answer, I'm expecting a 1 paragraph summary. And then I want to break it down into sections. So section 8 property, B proprietorship, C charges, D burdens. And then I've given it some rules as well. So again, anyone that's interested in this handbook, it's something I can share after the webinar and just maybe give you some food for thought of questions to ask. So I've given it some styles and rules. So being very specific with what we want to be asking. That's be concise. As I said, use Scottish terms. Do not assume boundaries beyond what the text supports. If wording is missing, say so. So again, don't let it just be agreeable to what you've asked. Really challenge it and make sure that um, I've said that like don't guess as well. So make sure that everything that you're saying is accurate and correct. So what I've done is I've just taken that into a single piece of document. So I'm going to just take that prompt and copy that and take that into a AI legal assistant. Before I do that, what I'm going to use is I'm going to go to one of our integrations, so the integration with ROS, and I'm going to just go and get the title information. So within Caseload itself, we've got an integration to just to get basic title details. That can be the same with Northern Brights for Scottish property such as Scotland, um, anyone that we work with. I'm going to just get this title summary. So I'll copy that and I'll put that into my prompt. So I'll just actually do that in here, just so we've got that information in here. So this is what I want to analyze. Sure, I've got all that in there. I'll just put that in here. That is better. So we've now got our title summary. So I'll take all of that and I'll go back to LawY. So we've got the title summary. I've also got the title data. So I'll use the summary for this example, but you could put the summary and data in there just to make sure that you were happy with what the output is. I'll then go to my AI legal assistant from there. And once we're in there, you can see what we've got. So how can I assist you today? So what we've got in here is it already knows that it's got the details of the matter description. So if I'm looking further on, once I've done some more research, I've got details around the matter description. It knows the work type sale because we selected that on the matter screen itself, and it auto defaults the jurisdiction to Scotland. So because we're in a matter, all we have to do is select our area of work type of law and we work on it from there. So I'll just paste that in and that just adds that as an attachment in there. And then I'll just say use this prompt. You can add multiple in there. So if you had other data in there, if you had two documents that you wanted to compare differences against, if it was a lengthy document, then you can do that as well. So I'll just ask it to analyze that prompt for us. So it'll do a bit of thinking and it'll do a bit of, it's not doing as much research here as such, unless we ask it to, but I'll just maximize the screen so we can see what the output of that looks like. So we've got our attachment, and this is us beginning our conversation. So everything that we can see on here is saved against a conversation inside the matter. So it's something we can come back to. It's something that we can use just now, but it's also something we can look at in the future. So in terms of the one paragraph summary, I've asked I've asked for it to provide what it's just provided at the top. And then it will break it down into sections. So you know what these title data can look like. It's just a big block of text. It can be really difficult to analyze. This makes it just so much easier to do that. So we'll just run through what the output looks like. So we've got the subject details, we've got the mappings, and again, with our RLS integration, you do get the title plan and the title documents back as well. So we can actually pull them up just to compare what's said in the summary, just to check that that's exactly correct. And usually with the colouring of the title plans as well. If we have common shared rights, they would show here, exclusive service rights, maintenance and cost allocation. You see it's into quite good, neat detail around the title sheet. And if you're imagining the steps that we're looking at in the prompt handbook, it's something that we can really work with and use. So we've got our proprietorship details. We don't have any registers of inhibitions, so other searches will be required on that. You can see it'll basically highlight as much as possible anything it didn't find in the documentation or the wording that's been provided, and it's just telling us what's not shown in the title summary along with the title data. So what happens now is obviously that's when it says low confidence, just to kind of clarify what that means is it's not that the answer's not correct. It's just that when you start to do legal research, so headline items, LawY has been around for a couple of years now. It's just surpassed 2 million legal questions being asked by individual lawyers. That's for over 50,000 individual users. So it's been quite a lot of questions asked. We are at the forefront of LawY in Scotland. So if you're asking legal research questions, it's still those questions haven't been asked a lot. So when it says low confidence, it just means it's not maybe had a human verified answer. And we'll cover the human verification part of it when we look at the legal research aspect of it. So you can copy that information. You can then ask it to create a report on title to client. So I'm just going to ask it to create a letter of report on title to client. While I'm asking that question, I'll just explain some of the other aspects of it. So you'll see that I'll just generate that letter. And it's just summarizing the answers that we've just had there. So you can see all that on screen. You can see all the information that's just been provided. It'll just put that into letter content. So that'll work its way through. And I'll just give it a wee second to finish, just so I can then show you some of the other parts that we've got in there. Now we could ask for it more of a summarized report. We can, again, it's just whatever you ask the question of is how you get the output and answer from there. So I'll just let that finish. You can see it goes into a lot of detail, and obviously the more detail the better in terms of what needs to happen. So it's been very precise. That was quite loose with the question that asked, although it was quite detailed as well. So what you've got at the bottom of LawY is you have the option to, as I said, copy that information to clipboard, paste it into a document. You have the Ask AI option. So on Ask AI, you have the option to make it shorter. So that was quite a long letter that was produced there. You can make it shorter. You can remove personal information. So if you've added personal information, now LawY in terms of being inside the application is closed. It's not like ChatGPT. So the answers provided, they only update the language model within LawY for questions. So for if you've got questions and the human verification answers are provided, then those feed back into the language model that exists within here. But we're not taking any personal information in there. If you have put personal information in there, you have an option in there to remove. You can improve the writing. You can fix the spelling and grammar if that's incorrect. And that could be, you could just have pasted something in there that you're not sure about in terms of the grammar. It can fix the spelling and grammar, and it can translate into some other languages as well. So you can see some options of the languages that are available that it can translate into as well. What I'll then do is suggestions. Now, some of these suggestions I'll not bother clicking on because I want to do some legal research examples as well. You could then do the same for the home report, and as I said, I said I would just do the two, so I will stick to that and just do the two options in here. So what I've got here is a very similar type prompt. Again, I'm just going to copy that data on there, and I'm going to analyze this home report. So I've taken some home report details in terms of the single survey, the accommodation details, the property questionnaire, and I've basically said I want it in that type of summary. So all the information that's on there, I've then asked for it to be in this specific format, and I've given it my deliverables. So again, summary, deliverables, the style of questions, risks and actions, any red flags, any styles and rules, be neutral and specific, no speculation. The more detail you can give the prompt, the better. So I'm just going to do the same in here. Since I'm in this matter already, I'll ask it to analyze this prompt as well. Really just to give you just a bit of flavour of things in there. Grant's reopened the chat window as well. So as we get later on, if somebody's got any questions, we can do a kind of chat questions on there. If anybody's got anything that they want to ask, once we've looked at a few other bits and pieces, we can do that as well. So I've given it the scope and objective, the strengths, and you can see here we go. So we've got a one paragraph headline, and it will just work its way through for that specific home report as well, along with any suggestions. So in summary, for that particular one, you've got the option to have these types of prompts, and putting the data in there as well just gives you so much more. So there is quite a bit of detail in this document. As I said, if anyone is interested in having a look at the document, just so that they can, it's just really to give you something to start with. I suppose experimenting with the LawY and any AI as well. It's getting some hands-on use for it as well, just to look at different practice areas as well. It's good to see what kind of examples I've got, and I appreciate these ones are quite specific, conveyancing based prompts. But if we look at some examples in other areas of work types as well, we'll just have a wee look at that just now. So I'll leave that sale matter for now. I'm now going to go to my AI legal assistant. So this is the main one. So you can see you can do it within a matter. It's very specific to the matter itself. What I'll do is I'll go to one here that we're going to create our own matter, just to show you that a little bit more about the range of things. So if I create a matter now, this doesn't create a physical matter in caseload. It's specifically just an AI matter. So it might be something that you just want to ask a question of, somewhere where you can get and ask questions around different areas of law that aren't specific to an individual matter. You've got that option in there as well. So what I'll do is, because we're in the main LawY window, what you'll see, it will cover all of the areas of law that they work in. So they started off in Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, and then moved into the US and the UK. So you can see in the UK, we do have the other areas available. So you're not restricted to Scotland when using LawY. You do have the option to do some research in other areas if you wish. I will stick to Scotland for the purposes of this being a Legal Matter Scotland webinar. So we will stick with Scotland, but you can see there is a raft of different areas that you might need to ask a question in. That's available to you as well. So I just wanted to make sure that you don't feel that if you need to be in a matter and you need to be restricted to Scotland and all that kind of stuff as well. So it gives you that option to go into different areas. I've got a couple of prompts around dispute, so we'll move away from conveyancing and we'll go down a little bit into litigation and disputes, and we'll just do disputes and consumer dispute. You can give that a reference, so it's a very randomized number that comes up in there, but if it's something that you want to come back to, then just name it whatever you want it to be, and then create the LawY matter. So you can see I've now got I'm back to where I was previously. So I'm just going to just move tabs a little second here into this one here. So again, I've just got a few different options in there that might be of use. So it's a kind of dispute resolution, apologies, prompt library. So it might be case law discovery. So it might be general case law discovery, where it's you want to find recent court of session decisions based on a particular topic. You might want to be targeted by a certain issue, or you might want to have authority hierarchy prompt where provide leading Scottish and UK Supreme Court authorities on unjust enrichment. Note Scottish divergences from English restitution principles. So not a massive area that I'm an expert in, but it'll be interesting to see what the answer is provided based on that. And we've been at quite a lot of, well, it's just answering that question. We've been at a lot of webinars, seminars, conferences, and people have been asking lots of different questions of LawY. And it's really interesting to see like lots of different people have lots of different use cases for this. And we we can obviously provide some examples as we go through this webinar, and I'll look at this answer that's been inputted in a bit more detail, but it's really you very rarely get the same you very rarely get the same question asked twice as well, which is quite interesting. So I think there's a lot of scope for being able to ask lots of different types of questions and really being specific to your work types. So that one set that part out below. What it'll do when you're asking a legal research question is it will obviously answer the question that you ask it of. If there's anything that is very specific, you can see it's giving quite a bit of detail about different previous past cases. And it's just going on. All of that is still going actually. So it's going to go into a lot of detail with the answer. And that brings me on to this little button here should light up in a little minute. There it is. And what that does, so anything that's a resource, it will highlight that at the bottom of the answer. Anything that is a citation, so if any of these had citations, there would be hyperlinks to access them from within there as well. So as you get the answers to the questions, you can see what's outputted from there as well. Anything that is underlined is something that can be clicked on to view. So this one here is taking me to the specific website with the case summary and basically the source of where it got the answer to that question. So it'll lead you to where you need to find the answer for, whether it be a case that's happened, a summary, anything that you want to see, anything that you need to find out more about. It will give you that answer from there as well. It will then, the suggestions, like any AI tool, the suggestions are basically going to say, like, you've just asked this question here. Here are some follow-up questions you might want to ask. Even if they're not specifically what you want to ask, they might give you a little hint as to, oh, I maybe really need to find out more about that. So let's see this third one here. Are any specific procedural steps or evidential requirements that a consumer must meet when pleading justified enrichment in the Scottish courts? So I'll let it generate that response as well. Just give it a wee minute to finish its answer. So it's going into details about the simple procedure. Obviously claims up to 5,000. It's given us information on the summary ordinary cause, and if anyone's a matter expert in this, then hopefully they can see the value from the answers that are being provided. So I'll just give that a wee minute to finish. So what I'm going to, I'll just, once that finishes, I don't have a lot of patience, but this is an instant AI answer, and I think there's there's two different elements to the answers that I'm provided here, and just want to talk a little bit more in detail around that. The answers that are given here are instant AI answers, so they should get you to where you need to get to pretty quickly without having to wait for the other elements of it. There is an option in here, which if you've seen in the top right, is deep research and human verification. So now that that's finished that answer, I'm just going to click on the deep research button here. So what deep research does is it basically submits that off. So rather than providing a very, what they used to call rapid research, but rather than providing a very instant, rapid answer, it'll analyze the instant AI answer. So deep research is designed to analyze the instant AI answer that has been provided and look at all the specific questions that we've asked and make sure that they can then do further research on that. So the one that we did earlier on with the prompt, if I'd have done deep research, it would have said, I don't really know what you want me to deep research. You didn't really ask any legal specific questions in there. So what am I supposed to deep research? When you're doing more case law research, it will look at the questions you've asked and you can say, you maybe asked 3, 4, 5 different questions, and then you get to the stage where the answer provided might be great, might be something that you're just not quite sure about. So deep research will basically submit it for research, and then you'll be notified by LawY when that deep research has been concluded, and it will give you a more detailed answer. So it's not instant, you have to wait for the answer, but you will then get an answer after that. So it's looking at the questions and then it's asking me to select the facts that are relevant to the question. So you can see on here, it's picked out the legal principle in question is unjust enrichment. The query concerns authorities from Scotland and the UK Supreme Court. And you can untick if you want. So if you don't want it to consider anything that's in there, then you can untick that. When you then click on a request research, you've got two options. Deep research, we just spoke about, it's something that we'll just go and submit that for deep research and provide an answer. Deep research plus verification. One of the massive selling points of LawY is the option for human verification. So we've been working for the last 3 months to increase the pool of lawyers that are able to provide human verification answers to very specific areas of law, the ones they are matter subject experts in, basically. So if I submit that for research and human verification, that's then submitted off. And I'm just going to explain a little bit more about that in a minute, but I just wanted to see how you then access those answers. So from within the question or within the conversation, you can see the history of my conversation. So if I add another conversation in there, the history will start to show me all of the elements of conversation that we've had. Deep research, I did one just before we started, just to make sure things were working properly. So you can see the one I'd asked earlier on about the standard procedure for verifying obtained evidence of building warrants or completion certificates. It was a conveyancing one. All of your, no matter what, matter or non-matter you're in, you will see all of the questions that you've submitted off for deep research and verification in this window, and you see the status of those. So if it shows research in progress, it means it's still checking that. Now I did human verification on these ones as well. So it will do the deep research, then submit that to the human verifier. Basically what happens with human verification is when you submit that off for verification, anyone that is a subject matter expert and has knowledge of the Scottish case law around that question is invited to answer it. So basically, anytime anyone asks a question that ticks those boxes, the human verifiers across Scotland are notified by email saying, someone's just asked this question, do you want to answer it? So basically what happens is they, they can ignore it or they can pick it up and say, yeah, I'm going to answer that question. They'll check the question, they'll check the verified answer, and they'll they'll provide anything that needs to be changed around the answer and submit that back to the person that's asked the question. So basically what you get there is that human verified answer, that other set of eyes on the question, just to um give you some context or give you some clarification rather on the question that you've asked. And you can actually see while we're waiting that second one's just completed its research as well. So it can be a really quick output. It really depends on the complexity of the question. So if I click on this one here, you can see the answer that's provided. So I asked a question, I submitted it for deep research, it completed the research, and it gave me the answer. So you can see the links that it's referring to at any point. So it's done the legal framework, the registration of public registers, the verification. So it's went above and beyond what the instant AI answer gave me and gave me this really detailed, deep answer that you can see on screen. If you do deep research and you've not selected human verification, you can see once you have done deep research, you can then submit it for verification. So don't feel like you have to do both at the same time. You can do the deep research first. If you're happy with that answer, use it, do whatever you have to do with it. If you're still not sure that the deep research covers what you needed, then you can submit that off for verification as well. So you've got that option on the answers. In terms of verifications, I'm on a preview system, so these questions thankfully aren't going to legal professionals in Scotland. So we're on a preview kind of staging server, so you won't actually see, these don't get submitted to human verifiers. They're just a way of allowing us to demonstrate how to submit that off for human verification. So everyone else that's on the live LawY build does have the option to do that. So just going back to LawY itself. Yeah, so on that main window, just to cover a few kind of practical points around that, and I'm hoping what we've covered there lets you see how to do it from a matter specific level and also from a non-matter level as well. So in terms of the main LawY window, so when you're in the matter, you only get specific points around that matter. When you're in the main LawY window, you can basically see links around previous conversations. So it's really easy to pick up and go back to a conversation that you've had that you might want to ask further questions of. You can click and view all your conversations, so all the questions that I've asked, they will show in here. You can select to go back into those if you want to see what was answered, what the output looked like. You can then follow that up. So you get that all gets saved, and it's just a really useful way of being able to go back in to see the questions that you've asked. So that's your conversations, that's your history. Again, deep research covers all of the ones that you're looking at, and the same with the verification element as well. You do have some other settings in here, so you can see some of the terms and conditions privacy around the resources. You can see preferences. You can go into dark mode. It's just black, makes it a bit darker. and you can disable email notifications as well. So you've got some system settings and preferences that you can have in there as well. So I've done a few different prompt options in there. I'm just going to run through a few more things just to get you thinking about some things that might be really useful in there. So this dispute one that we've just looked at, you can use it for case analysis, so extracting legal reasoning behind it, a case breakdown, comparative case, reasoning. If you're drafting, what's a really good point as well, one thing I hadn't really thought about is a lot of the time, especially in legal cases, you're tending to find an answer that suits your narrative. So, you know what I mean? You're always going to say, right, I want to ask a question around something that I'm an expert in, but what some I've kind of learned some practicalities of it is some people are actually asking it and saying, put this is my defense, put me in the shoes of the other lawyer, and what defense arguments could I put up? So you can actually build a case for defense because you've asked LawY to be in the other person's shoes and hit me with arguments back as to what I'm going to actually ask about. So this idea around drafting and argument development is really interesting for me because it kind of hadn't really thought about that in terms of how to do that. And that, in fact, that's what we're just talking about there in terms of a for and against prompt. So this one here, we've got predictive reasoning. So based on current Scottish authority, assess how the court session might decide a case involving, put your example in, and then present the strongest arguments for and against the claimant in Scottish dispute concerning a certain issue using relevant case law. You then get both sides of the argument that you can then hopefully go into the case with a stronger position because you might not have thought of something that the other person is going to dispute against. So it gives you that option to use the kind of for and against prompt to do that. And the same with comparative prompts, procedural strategic law prompts as well. I've done another one around family prompt library, very similar to dispute in terms of the types of case law discovery, the case analysis, so understanding and comparing authorities. You can see comparative care analysis, ratio extraction. Again, if any of this is any use to anyone, then just let me know. I can send that off over. And then we've got one here around drafting and advisory prompts, pleadings draft, skeleton argument. Again, that kind of idea of batting one side off against the other, and then strategic and predictive prompts as well. So for and against negotiation, outline negotiation tracks for resolving a Scottish family dispute about referring to relevant case law and likely judicial approach. Put those into LawY, put as much information as you can with a really good prompt, and you get the output from that as well. Cross jurisdiction stuff as well. So couple of things to think about as well. Um, we advocate using. If I just go back to, it's going to go through another few things just to think about. If anyone has any questions, then feel free to put them in the Q&A or on the chat bot. But I'll just go through a couple of other things as well, things that we've been thinking about to get the best out of LawY and the tools that are now available. It's we advocate using the AI to support lawyers, not to replace. We want to support. Treat the output as a starting point, not final advice. Always verify facts and citations. So on the answers that are provided, where citations are noted, verify those are correct, verify those stack up with what you're interested in. Use the verification. That's what it's there for. So if you need to use the verification, then do that. in summary, what we're seeing the benefit of is people using AI for first drafts, legal research, and honestly, content transformation. And what I mean by content transformation, and there's no substitute for just having another set of eyes over an email that you're about to send. How many times have you just sent the email without actually rereading the email or checking it over? Sometimes if it's something that you're really not sure about, or you want to really improve the language, the grammar, the spelling, the tone, put that into LawY, ask it to check, does this make sense? And it just gives you that bit of focus on the answer that's been provided. I've used that quite a bit for myself and for um, business reasons, and I think it really just gives you that option to either take the language. The language might not be easily understood, depending on who you're sending the email to as well. So you might want to turn a legal note into a one-page summary in plain English. You might want to translate it into another language, which we looked at. But with caseload, with LawY, anyone that uses caseload, it's now available. It's available as part of your caseload subscription. For us, we felt that it allowed us to level the playing field a little bit with some of the larger firms that have access to more AI tools. We wanted to bring those to caseload customers as quickly as we could. The verification part of it as well, we feel if you stack up ChatGPT versus LawY, the human verification part just gives you that other edge against that. It's secure, it's integrated into caseload, there's no external data exposure. So it just gives you that option to have legal research. The stuff that we just looked at today, that was very brief examples. As I said, I think if you've if you have access to LawY, or about to have access to LawY, then have a go. See what the output looks like. As I said, start small if you're not sure about it, and then you can maybe move into bigger use cases as well. The prompt libraries, I think, make a big difference because the more accurate the question, the better the answer. If I could just finish on some practical features, as I said, if anyone has any questions, I will have a wee look at the Q&A in a minute. But the practical features, in summary, you've got deep research, it gives you that in-depth legal review, and you see how quickly the research can happen in real time as well. You've got tone control, so you can really refine the tone of the output just to make sure that it comes across. You've got the removal personal information option. You've got multilingual outputs as well. So if you really need to put that into another language, you can translate those responses instantly into other languages. And all of this, like our main mission with Caseload, all of this happens within the application. So you're not having to go anywhere else. The information is not going anywhere else. It's all staying in here with that, along with the human verification option. So that's it. I'll just have a wee check of the Q&A, but I don't think there is any questions. I can Ronald has asked around the LawY for executory work. Yes, I've got some private client ones as well, which I can share, which goes into a reasonable detail for the executory and some other private client stuff. So I will take a note to share those around the executory elements of it. And if there is any other matter specific work types that you're interested in, let us know and we can look at those as well. So I'm just going, someone's asking is how does Denovo AI compare with ChatGPT? We've actually got an article on that which I can send you, but in summary, it's similar in terms of the language. Not sorry, it's similar in terms of the what was I going to say? They both use OpenAI, so they both use OpenAI to deliver the tone, the output of the language that's used, but the language model of Denovo AI is much more specific to the jurisdictions that you can see. Um, so it just gives you more of a detailed answer and the human verification. You don't have that with ChatGPT, but there is similarities to that. And I suppose if you've used ChatGPT already, then using it within Denovo AI gives you more of a guarded um, output, whereas ChatGPT is a bit more open to the public. The LawY is more within the our sorry our language model, and it improves our language model as well. In terms of the translation, yeah, I don't see any issue with that. It's one of the biggest selling parts of it, and I would say from a legal perspective, the translation should be trusted. I've done a few examples myself where I've translated it and then went back into something like Google Translate and put that in, and it's come out with exactly the same answer. So I think it should be pretty reliable. In terms of drafting confirmation for executive, which is the next question that's came up, yeah, um, it does allow you to draft confirmation documents, and I think I've done some examples in a previous webinar where I asked it for that, but you can just put that question into LawY and it can output the document as well. Please confirm who owns the copyright of what is produced in AI. So in terms of the information that's in here, there is a disclaimer at the bottom of the questions. Let me just go back to one of the questions just to show what that looked like. So the disclaimer at the bottom, obviously, it's always going to say it's a response generated by AI. It's not been reviewed by a qualified lawyer. It's not legal advice and may not be accurate. I mean, I think that's fair in terms of an output that's in there. There is terms and conditions which apply to the response as well. So in there, I would say that those are available to anyone that, that needs access to that. You can see the terms and conditions that are available, and it will get into the rights of use, the disclaimer around that, and the privacy policy as well. So there's a reasonable amount of data in there around what that looks like. So I hope that answers the question around the copyright aspect of it. So it should all be in that agreement, and that's the terms and conditions there are the terms of use in terms of LawY and how that output looks like, what that output looks like as well. So someone's asking around the questions that are asked are all available to the user asking the question. It's basically because you're in this session. I need to check. I'm not 100% sure if you can see another person's, but basically you're in your own LawY session. So the questions that you're asked within the matter are your questions that you've asked. I'd need to see if that can be opened up to see other questions that were asked by other users on the same matter. So I will take a note to have a look at that for the person that's asked that question. If anyone doesn't have the AI button now, then can you just email myself or Grant or info@denovobi.com, and we'll make it a priority to get you updated to the latest version. We did do a huge batch just prior to this at the beginning of the month, but um, anyone that's not on our hosted solution may not have the option yet. So if you just get in touch with us, we'll make sure that happens within the next day or so. Grant has put the link in the chat, which does make the comparison around that. So that is, there he is. And that does give you the answer around LawY versus ChatGPT. So for the person that asked that question, you should be able to get that link in the chat as well. So in terms of someone's asking about can you ask it to analyze and produce documents within the client's case file? So in terms of analyzing the documents, at the moment there's no option to add the attachment from the matter. You would have to take the document and paste it in like I did with the prompts earlier on, and it'll analyze the document for you and then produce documents that you need to output from that as well. So it is a copy and paste at the moment. They are looking at adding an attachment option. We'll let you add attachments from that, but at the moment it's just taking the contents of the document, pasting it in, and asking it to analyze what's there. So you do have the attachment options, but you have to paste those the wording of the documents in rather than picking them up from the matter itself. I'll just wait another minute or two in case there is any more questions. I hope that answers the majority of the questions that came in this morning. If there is anything else, then please get in touch. As I said, if you have LawY already, then feel free to have a go. It's live, it's available, it's on the live system. It can be used straight away. Anyone that needs any guidance around prompts, then please get in touch and we can send that information over. We're just coming up to 12 o'clock, so I don't want to hang. I think that will nicely wrap things up. So I'll just stop sharing from there. But yeah, if anyone has any further questions, please get in touch. I hope you found the session useful just in terms of the practicalities of using LawY. But if you do have anything else, please get in touch and we can answer your questions. But thanks everyone.